Once again, warm welcome to you all on the second day of orientation program of IIMC. We are having with us Dr. A. Surya Prakash, Chariman Prasar Bharti. We welcome you, sir. I would request Director General IIMC to welcome the guest.
Respected Dr. A. Surya Prakash ji, our Additional Director General, Shri Mayank Agarwal ji, esteemed members of the faculty, Professor Makhan Lal, eminent historian who is also present here, scholars of development journalism course, and dear students, a very good morning to all of you. Today, indeed, we are honored to have with us the head, the chairperson of one of the largest media corporations in the world, the Prasar Bharti Corporation. It is under the Prasar Bharti that you have all the Doordarshan networks, terrestrial and satellite, as also All India Radio. There are many other undertakings also under them, these being the prominent ones. We are indeed honored to have him for the second consecutive year that he is commencing our orientation program. He is launching our orientation program. I am also privileged in the sense that I've had the opportunity to work with him as a colleague and later under his leadership in Doordarshan. And rarely do you have scholar journalists. We have all been in journalism, but being in the midst of journalism, in the thick of journalism, and still being able to be a scholar, working with a lot of substance on issues of parliamentary democracy, on Parliament itself, Parliament of India, he is an authority. And that somebody has been able to take it forward is something that's remarkable, and it's an inspiration for all journalists that he continued with his academic pursuits even as he remained in the thick of journalism. He's an inspiration. This is also very important because he is heading the public broadcaster. And unfortunately, we have seen that over the years there has been a decline in development stories, in reporting development stories. We hardly find them. In fact, I remember we were giving a farewell to a foreign agency bureau chief in Delhi, and in that farewell get-together, he said that there are two things that distinguishes India from, reporting from elsewhere in the world. He said that the first thing is that whenever any major development takes place anywhere in the developing country, anywhere in the developing world, as a reporter, as a foreign reporter, our first focus is on what the army is going to do. He said that in India the army is so apolitical that whatever may be the upheaval, whatever may be the political development, we just don't look at the army because we know that India has got one of the finest professional armies in the world. They will never interfere in democratic functioning. Democracy has taken deep roots in this country. That's something he said is remarkable. An apolitical armed forces. The second thing is that the other distinguishing factor, he said, about India is that, well, I have never seen a more politicized media. I mean, you are obsessed with politics, and that's a fact. And that is where the Prasar Bharti, even today, there are a lot of, over the years, we have been saying that they are trumpeting the government's achievements, they are they have become a mouthpiece of the government. But all said and done, even today if there is rural reporting, if there are development stories, if there are stories informing and educating and creating awareness among the public, it is still the Doordarshan and the All India Radio which are doing this. And believe me, for me, a day is incomplete if I don't go to bed without watching a bulletin of Doordarshan News. Because when I see other bulletins, they are obsessed with one story, one Indrani, one Bahubali, as if no other story exists. But to get a total capsule of sports, foreign, national, international, it's Doordarshan News, one bulletin of it. That is why when I was working there as editor, when we went by the BARC rating, we found that prime time DD News had more audience than the combined viewership of several private channels. And it is very significant that today the Prasar Bharti Corporation is being headed by a veteran journalist, Dr. A. Surya Prakash. And this role also, he has also been, as I said, a veteran journalist. And we should, I think that this is also the time to introspect where we are going. Because today media is also polarized. Either you are pro-government or you are anti-government. Whereas in media, I think we should be pro-people. And when we are pro-people, if there are steps being taken by the government which are anti-people, then we should become anti-government. And if there are steps and initiatives which are for the development of the people, for the welfare of the people, for the good of the people, then we have to be pro-government. We cannot just take one side. We have to be balanced. We have to follow what Gautama Buddha taught us centuries back, the path of the middle path or the path of Madhyama Marga. Friends, I have the honor of introducing Dr. A. Surya Prakash to you. He is an author and columnist and a leading commentator on Indian constitutional and parliamentary issues and governance. Apart from his pioneering work on Parliament, Dr. Surya Prakash is known for his well-researched interventions on national issues. Over the last 45 years, Dr. Prakash has held key positions in several print and electronic media organizations. He was editor, Z News, executive editor, The Pioneer, India editor of Asia Times, a business and political daily published from Bangkok and Singapore, political editor of the Enadu group of newspapers, and chief of bureau of the Indian Express, New Delhi. Currently, apart from heading the Prasar Bharti, Dr. Prakash is a distinguished fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation, a New Delhi-based think tank, and director of the India Foundation. He is also a member of the Executive Council of the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, and member of the Board of Governors of the Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. His columns appear in the New Indian Express, The Pioneer, Dainik Jagran, Enadu, The Prameya, Prajavani, and Dinamani. Surya Prakash, supported by a KK Birla Fellowship, took a sabbatical in the early 1990s to study the working of India's apex legislative body. The result was what ails Indian Parliament, published in 1995 by Indus, an imprint of HarperCollins, which is hailed as the most definitive text on the working of India's Parliament after W.H. Morris John's Parliament in India, published in 1957. His next work on Parliament, Public Money, Private Agenda, The Use and Misuse of MP Lads, published by Rupa in 2013, has also won critical acclaim. Recently, he has published The Emergency, Indian Democracy's Darkest Hour. This book will also be published in Hindi, Kannada, and Gujarati. Surya Prakash has several more publications on the working of India's Parliament, including chapters in many books. Among them are Need to Regulate the Working of Political Parties in the G.C. Malhotra edited 50 Years of Indian Parliament, published by Lok Sabha Secretariat, Parliamentary Questions as Instruments of Accountability in Mehra and Quek, the Indian Parliament, A Comparative Perspective, published by Konark Publishers. Surya Prakash was awarded the K.K. Birla Fellowship to study the working of Indian Parliament in 1992. He also secured a fellowship from the Friedrich Ebert Foundation to study the working of the standing committees of the German Bundestag in 1993. He has travelled widely and observed the working of German and British parliaments. He was a member of the Lok Sabha Fellowship Committee that awarded fellowship annually to scholars studying parliamentary institutions. He is also the recipient of the Karnataka Rajyotsava Award, the Sardar Patel Fellowship from the Institute of Policy Studies, the Karnataka Patrika Academy Award, and the Bipan Chandra Pal Samman for fearless journalism. Friends, I would be failing in my duty if I don't mention here that last time when Dr. Surya Prakash ji came, we took a commitment from him. We said that in future Prasar Bharti should come here and should start campus placements. And I'm happy to say that in the last session, we had campus placements from Doordarshan here. And I'm grateful to him for that. I'm sure, sir, that for Prasar Bharti, All India Radio, our brilliant students would be able to carry forward your objective of public broadcasting. And I'm sure that in them you will find very many talented hands. Friends, I have the honor of presenting to you Dr. A. Surya Prakash.
Shri K.G. Suresh ji, Shri Mayank ji, distinguished guests, my friends and budding journalists. As a media person who has been in the business close to 50 years, actually I'm quite ancient, you know. You're all guys who are going to come into the profession now. Can you imagine? I started out 47 years ago actually, in the Indian Express Bangalore. But some of the best moments come in my interaction with young people and students of journalism, because I wanted to be a media person. I'm not one of those who strayed into journalism. This was a very conscious decision I took in the early 70s when journalism was not such a hotshot profession, nor did you earn much out of it. Actually, I come from a family where most of my siblings are, they were all corporate guys, presidents of companies and directors of companies and so on. So actually my parents were very worried. They were wondering whether I would, earn enough to have 2 meals a day kind of thing. That was the journalism of 50s, 60s, 70s. All of you are coming into media in a different time frame. You are not going to be short of money, I can assure you that. And so, you people are going to come into this profession at a time when, I'm sure like me, all of you want to be in media, whether it's advertising or journalism or print or television or whatever. And at the same time, it has to be a paying proposition. You can't be scrounging around and trying to eke out an existence. So, this is a generation that is going to see the realization of both these dreams. Because in the last 10-15 years, in terms of incomes and so on, the sky is the limit for those of you who work hard and who love your profession and who want to make a mark and who are talented, of course. So on that note, let's begin. As I said, every time I address students of journalism, I feel honored. It's indeed a great privilege to be amongst you. And it also evokes in me a great sense of pride for the profession that I belong to. The other thing is that in India, for example, the basic foundations, the whole ethical framework for journalism came during the freedom struggle, and we had Mahatma Gandhi, and we had Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Lala Lajpat Rai and so on, who, in the freedom movement, the whole business of writing and publishing and propagating in a land where our literacy levels were very, very low. So it used to be through word of mouth. Whatever Gandhiji wrote or somebody else would get translated in different languages, would be communicated in public platforms by other members of the Congress party and so on. And that is how messages went across. And it was a profession that expected the highest standards from those who practiced it. And journalism, if you take journalism in those days, in the pre-independence era, the whole focus of journalism was to attain independence for India, and therefore nothing else mattered to them. The whole question of what they would earn, where they would exist, they had to just write, go to the printing press, get the copies out, distribute it among people, and hold sabhas and so on, and educate those who would go across and talk to people and so on. So, those noble ideas were central to journalism in the pre-independence era. Then we come to the post-independence era, and of course, the journalism in 50s, 60s, 70s and all, as I told you, it was not a profession which was a well-paying profession, which meant that those who came into journalism came in just out of a public purpose, a public spiritedness. That is all that brought you into journalism in those days. So in families you could have people who would be in the corporate world or this, that and the other. You could have people in journalism. Economically they wouldn't be doing so well, but they were very, very highly respected people in Indian society across states. And they would take a moral stand, and if you see the first governments post 1947, whether at the federal level or in the states, these journalists, these top editors of the 50s and 1950s, 1960s, if they wrote an editorial against the chief minister, it would shake the establishment. Those days the literacy rate was 20 or 25%. So majority of people who were voting political parties and politicians were not literate, they couldn't read newspapers. Yet the moral authority of that editor was so strong. And whether it is then or today, in my view, this is non-negotiable. Those who are the leaders of this profession called journalism, media, you have to live within those moral parameters. You cannot go outside of that. And that is when your words will command respect, that is when your editorials will command respect. In fact, when we attained freedom, there were people like Churchill who said that Indians cannot govern themselves. When I reflect over the last 70 years, the problem is human beings don't live 500 or 1000 years. Otherwise, if Churchill was around, I would have brought him here and shown him around. 70 years, what have we done to ourselves? It's not a small thing. We are the most diverse land on earth, the most diverse society, and the most democratic society. Whatever else anybody may say about us, all of you have to understand this as to where we began and where we are today. The other thing is, this is for those of you who are coming into print, television, journalism, not the advertising guys. Advertising guys, this doesn't apply. For them, some other rule will apply. To those of you who are coming into journalism, I will say, you should have a passion for public causes. If you don't have a passion for public causes, you please take this IIMC degree you have come in. This is a very good diploma. and highly respected. I am very happy I am here because this is the best media institution in the country. And you are all very privileged, you are all very honored to have admission here. I am telling you, this is the best media institution in the country.